Hey y'all, it is September the 3rd, 2023, and we're actually reporting from the mean streets of San Antonio, Texas. Alright, it's kind of late at night, barely getting it in. It's kind of creepy. They got a light right there. There's a creepy man walking down the street. Alright, but in the meantime, as was promised in the title of this video, I'm not making it up. It's not clickbait. I don't know how far we're going to get into it, but you may or may not want to know that toddlers are coming to school strapped in San Antonio, Texas. All right, Texas father, and there's a lot of people wrote about it, but here are the top. CNN says a Texas father, this is San Antonio, represent, buddy, was arrested after a gun was found inside a 3-year old's backpack. You can only imagine the dire consequences of a gun being in a 3-year-old's backpack over at the preschool. All right, so we're gonna talk about that a little bit, but actually, we're gonna dive into probably several other things too, several other related topics, namely this one. All right, first of all, we're talking about a couple of different incidents here. Alright, and shout out to Maitre Mark, who's a damn legend on the bass, and it's only getting better and better and better and better. And thank God, I thank God that and there'll be a link. I'll put a link to Maitre Mark if you don't know. He's killing it on the bass guitar and with the content. Alright, so move over Oliver Anthony or whatever. So, anyways, kind of in a related matter. See, when I brought up the San Antonio thing, 3-year-old little girl, that was pretty recent. That's why I brought it up. But this one is a little bit less recent right here, and we brought it up before. It's a 6-year-old boy. I forget where exactly, some other state. A 6-year-old boy not only brought a gun. See, the 3-year-old, I think we're going to find, as if we read in the articles, that the 3-year-old did not purposefully bring a gun to school. It was merely placed in her bag, right? So, but this 6-year-old right here purposefully brought a gun to school and used it on purpose, right? On a teacher, shot her up. Teacher wound up surviving, and it's really quite bizarre. I'm gonna have to read some of this article and see if they give us some details. If you hadn't heard about this, of course it's going on. This is only like a little tippity tip taste, right? It's a little tiny tip of the iceberg, and it goes far and beyond this, what we're talking about tonight. But it's, inferring to a larger story, and that is rampant criminality, right? All over the place, and savage barbarians going to the elementary schools. And I almost say it like it's a joke. It's not a joke, all right? New details emerge, and I wanted to read a little bit of this with y'all, all right, while we got some time. And we be grinding behind the scenes, we be making gains and all sort of stuff. And, I plan to start, don't worry about me, all right? I plan to start editing videos and doing this and that, but don't worry about it. I'm going to talk about it later. Much to do with fitness, by the way, because we're getting jacked, all right? Getting jacked like you wouldn't believe, all right? No homo. Okay, but, anyways, sometimes we can come through and shout out to people like Maitre Mark, Brenda, and everybody else, Angela Tate, 80s Kid, and all this, El Nino. A lot of people, the list goes on and on. Shout out, and that's why I come on. All right, real quick to tell you about toddlers shooting up the school. Figure this stuff should be like on the news a lot. It's not really. But the child told a teacher after the shooting, this is after the shooting, can you only imagine a 6-year-old purposefully pulling out a gun from his backpack that he got from his mom's stash the night before or something like that? He got the gun, brought it to school on purpose, and shot a teacher. So, I mean, okay, so that's the days we're living in. The child told a teacher after the shooting at Rich Neck Elementary School that I did it. And, quote, I got my mom's gun last night, according to the newly unsealed court documents. It's not the biggest news thing ever. It really isn't. And there's so much more chaos and calamity that this kind of thing gets swept under the rug. All right, so let's read a little bit to see if they got the details because I remember the details are kind of even worse than you already heard. So, the 6-year-old boy who seriously wounded his teacher at a Virginia elementary school in January said in the aftermath that I did it, and I got my mom's gun last night, according to the newly unsealed court documents. So, you're only using your imagination. That's all we can do, really, to kind of like imagine how this goes down in a classroom. Young boy shoots the teacher. He brought a gun to school on purpose. He's 6 years old. So he shoots the teacher, wounding her. And then sometime after it, he then tells somebody, hey, I did it. I got the gun and I did what I did. But can you imagine? Because a gunshot typically is so damn loud. I've been in a room with a gunshot going off before. It's deafening. Your ears will be ringing. It's very startling. But see, you can only infer that this 6-year-old child is a savage. He's been used to the sound of gunshots. Right? When he finally was the one pulling the trigger, he wasn't exactly startled by what he did. He doesn't really understand the consequences of what he did. But however, it's not really a big deal in his eyes, I don't think. So the child made a statement to another teacher who had restrained him after he had opened fire on a first grade teacher, Abigail Werner, whose name has been disclosed, as she sat reading to her class at Rich Neck Elementary School in Newport News, according to the probable cause statement, a search and the warrant affidavit. The documents shed light on the boy and how he likely obtained the weapon, a 9 milli semi-automatic handgun, using the shooting his mother, Deja Taylor. And you can imagine what these people look like. Told, I don't mean anything by that. Told Newport News police in an interview that she typically stores her firearm in a purse with a trigger lock in place or in a lockbox, but apparently that was not the case. Or the child can get your trigger lock off. Apparently, on January the 6th, the morning of the shooting, Taylor believed the gun was in her purse with the trigger lock installed, and left on top of her bedroom dresser, according to the statement. Which, I mean, that doesn't make it very useful and stuff. Just and I'm not gonna keep on going, right? You get it, right? Um, Toddler is basically. I joke when I say toddler because the boy's actually 6 years old. But in the case of San Antonio, it's an actual, I think, toddler is 3 years old little girl who accidentally brought a gun to school. So people talked to him about that. But I don't know any adult knows exactly how he got the gun or whatever. They're trying to investigate to the best of their capabilities, I'm sure. So I don't want to read too much into this article, particularly because it's not very entertaining. All right. But on previous articles, allegedly, they talk about this young little boy, 6-year-old little boy, who is nuts. Allegedly, reportedly, in other articles, they were talking about that this people knew that the young boy brought a gun. Can you imagine everything going down like this? Okay, Before the incident takes place, allegedly, people were murmuring and there was rumors that the young 6-year-old boy had a gun, and adult people were talking about, because little children were talking about. It's like, dude, I remember my elementary school days, all right, and it was nothing like this. But okay, so the kids know that the kid has a gun. He's showing the other kids and telling them about it, and they see it, and they start talking about it. Can you imagine the situation? Now adults are starting to talk about it, and allegedly they even searched the young boy's backpack and didn't find a gun. All this is allegedly happened and didn't find a gun, so they were like, well, I guess he don't have a gun. Later on, he pulls it out his damn pants or something. I don't know where he pulled it out from, and shot the teacher in the shoulder. And it was pretty damn serious. But she did want a living. The thing is, the articles which I was reading, as you can imagine, there's a progressive build-up to this sort of event. And this young boy allegedly was choking people. He was choking adults. He was choking them in a fashion, not in a playful fashion. Right? He had reportedly at least choked one adult prior to this event. I mean, rampant, brutal savagery. All right, and I don't know how you feel when I say the word brutal savagery. All right, 6-year-old little boy. And then I do want to, like, I guess, draw your attention to something that's pretty bad. Um, it may be not as savage, but it's pretty savage in and of itself. A Texas father was arrested, San Antonio, like I said, after a gun was found inside a 3-year-old's backpack. Let's read a little bit of the details while we've got some time. And a Texas father was arrested on a gun after a gun was found inside a 3-year-old's pre-K student's backpack. In a backpack, right? A San Antonio man was arrested Tuesday after a teacher found a handgun in the backpack of the man's 3-year-old child at a San Antonio pre-K center. An off-duty Parks police officer providing security at the center contacted city police officers when the gun was found. And I don't think it really gets more exciting than that, you know, as far as interesting content goes. 35-year-old Pete Robles was the father, so, you know, the child's father is in his life. That's a good thing, sort of. Except, you know, he's accidentally putting guns in a 3-year-old's backpack. Now, the article is not going to be very detailed. These people aren't good at their jobs. But it leads all sort of things to the imagination. I mean, you can't help but wonder what is up with the rampant savagery and all these just epic faux pas going down, such as this. Um, it's pretty mindless, all right? So you can only imagine a situation leading up to this. So this guy, he has a gun, and he's toting a gun, which is like his right to do. But at some certain point in his day or in his life, um, he has to quickly hide the gun. And so, for people who've had to quickly hide guns before, you know, you got to find a good spot in which somebody won't look for the gun. But consider hiding the gun in your 3-year-old's. Your 3-year-old daughter should not be going to pre-K. School is almost entirely worthless. But however, people are just brainwashed into thinking that it's a good idea. It's not. But they're doing it because they're desperate for money, right? So they're putting a very young child into school, which they shouldn't be doing. I don't know. I'm not here to tell people what to do, but very, very young. And you're stashing guns very quickly because you had to hide it real quickly in your 3-year-old's back. See, I'm not really trying to judge you for stashing it in a 3-year-old's backpack. But if you're stashing a gun in your 3-year-old's backpack, then wouldn't you remember that you did it? wouldn't that be the only thing on your mind? Like, okay, let me stash this real quick and get out of whatever situation you're in, and then immediately take the gun out of your 3-year-old child's backpack. I'm not trying to judge too hard. It's savage. It's savage. It's mindless. So you can only imagine a situation. Well, okay, you have to quickly stash a gun. So you somehow don't remember that you did it, to the point is you send your very young toddler child to a school and with a deadly weapon. A 3-year-old is definitely capable of pulling the trigger if accidentally a trigger is put in front of them. They could pull a trigger, and that's so damn dangerous that it's hard to wrap your mind around. You forgot, and it makes you wonder how you forget something like that. People forget things. I guess that's the moral of the story. And it's just deadly disastrous when they do, such as leaving, say, like a child in a car. It's like things like that are disastrous and tragic. All right, forgetfulness. I gotta hope you're on drugs. All right, I'm just hoping that the father is on drugs. All right, and that's why he forgot. I don't know. Some people are too, and I guess we can all find ourselves getting caught up and not living in the present moment and being aware of your stashing deadly weapons in your toddler's backpack and sending her to school. All right. So, anyways, we of course got to get up out of here and start grinding and stuff like that. Um, Making all sort of mad gains, and I want to share with y'all, stuff about that, a little bit later. But in the meantime, I do have some screenshots. Shout out to Maitre Mark. I just caught his new jam and it was damn amazing. All right. I do have some screenshots. All right. Things that are wild. And it's kind of related. Won't take very long. It's a news blitz. Let's get up out of here. I hope you had a very exciting and tantalizing Saturday evening. I hope, or whatever evening that you're watching this or listening. I hope that it was the best day of your life. And truth be told, it's the best day of my life as well. And we share that with each other. And I appreciate you for that. So let's put on this news blitz, all right? Because none of this matters so much, all right? But it's all, a little taste of what it is that I'm talking about and trying to drive home is that it's deadly dangerous. And I think you know that. It's deadly dangerous. And here in San Antonio, but like basically everywhere you go, probably. Tucker Carlson mentioned it. Joe Biden's America, whatever. A lot of rampant crime and criminality, savage barbarianism as well. And it's not always the same thing. But the other day we had mentioned, for example, here's a little taste. There's this might not be the most crazy stuff happening in San Antonio. This is only like an example, right? We talked about it the other day. A spear. Someone threw a 5 foot, I'm told, spear through a windshield of a car that was moving, that was in traffic, and it didn't take the lady who was driving it. It did not take her life, which it could have easily done. Instead, it struck the steering column and embedded itself in there. And I don't know if the guy was homeless or if he was just maybe he had a home. He was some random crazy MNFer walking down the street with a big old spear, throws it into a car. Because, of course, the momentum of the car, it's going to cause major damage, right? What's interesting about this article's headline? You're talking about epic chaos. It's only a taste. What's interesting about this headline is that the dumb lady, Melissa Mano, all respect due to her. I'm sorry for calling her dumb, but she says, turns out anybody could buy a 5 foot spear. Oh, as it turns out. Yeah, I'm sure anybody could buy a 5 foot spear. Yeah, I'm sure like a 6-year-old could wander into a store and buy a 5 foot spear, and it's going to be that easy. And here's the thing. Turns out anyone could buy a 5 foot spear Has there been a lot of spear violence that I'm unaware of? What are you talking about? Is there a rash of? Do you have something? Because that's usually y'all's play on gun violence. You call it gun violence. So are you talking about spear violence? Turns out anybody can buy a spear. Oh, really? I have never ever heard of people throwing spears in oncoming traffic. That is a new thing in 2023, but we talked about that earlier. Um, but okay, and then for example, there was a Fred Flintstone. Fred Flintstone did get killed. We talked about that as well a couple of years ago, actually, and he did have a spear too as well. That's why I brought it up. The spear violence that they're not talking about. It turns out anybody could buy a spear and just go on a rampant violence spear rampage, right? I mean, here's a headline right here about dumb stuff. All right, your son was a R word. All right, murder suspect says dead man called him the N word at a San Antonio gas station. I don't know if I brought this up, but I'm telling you, like I hear this about gas stations, and I'm talking about in San Antonio specifically. I can only imagine everywhere else. All right, so this guy supposedly called you the N word. And we all know what N word means. So it's like, it's so childish that people are saying the N word. So, but here's the thing. I don't know anything about this story, but here's what I can tell you almost for certain. The guy didn't even call you the N word. You made that up. And so, like, actually, you are an N word. When you really think about it by the definition, if you're a panhandler and you're thieving from people and you're carrying a gun, which is what I'm talking specifically about this N word in in the story, allegedly. Maybe he's been framed, but if you're carrying a gun, panhandling, and thieving and robbing, then what are you? What is that called? What is that called? But I bet you he didn't call you that and you made it up. You think it's an excuse to murder someone in broad daylight at the gas station because he called you the N word. And somehow or another that ends up in the headline of the news because ain't nobody got shame, all right? These people are shameless. And it's chaos and calamity. But I don't know if I even got screenshots of like the other gas stations. Very recently, in fact, someone allegedly said the N word and he got shot in cold blood. Somebody's girlfriend, he shot her in the dang head, like at the gas station in broad daylight. The other day, it's like, dude, every couple of days, somebody's getting shot up for whatever reason at the gas station or definitely on the road. People have road rage. People become deadly gangsta monsters every time they get behind the wheel for some reason, and they can't wait to take anybody's life. They feel like it's nobody's. They feel like it's no consequences. Savage barbarianism. All right. So as we wind it down this Saturday night, there is good news. I just wanted to show you this. Now it says $1,300 and some change for this hat and sunglasses setup. And I gotta tell you, it's absolutely worth it. All right, we're living in the day of 2023, in which all this savage barbarianism and carnage and stuff like that. And I don't know if you feel me, but I do want to talk about it later. Concept of investing in yourself. And it's something that nobody ever drove it home for me, investing in yourself until very recently, and a lot of people were doing it on the internet, telling me you need to invest in yourself. And no one's ever really told me that. But for example, if you bought this hat and sunglasses, that would be a great idea. I don't have the money to get it right now, but say if I did have the money to get it, I would get it, and it would be a part of investing in myself. I'd be so baller that you wouldn't believe. So it's like if you're so baller like this, think about it. You're so baller like this. Um, you can't help but like get more money, right? It's an economic fact. I don't know if you've seen that. If you're a baller like this, you're just gonna get more money. If you're a baller like this, you're just gonna get more money. All right, and the whole Trump thing, I know everybody said like a million words about the whole Trump thing, so I'm not gonna bother. But of course, this is a very good mugshot, right? And say what you will about it. Maybe it was a planned mugshot. Maybe he had a makeup artist. It's very good. He hit the right emotion. That's how you do a mugshot, buddy. I wanted to shout out Alex Jones all the time, MadMaxWorld.tv, if you didn't know. That's the secret way to get to banned.video, which has been banned, of course, all over the place. I don't know if you know about that, but Infowars.com has been banned all over the place, right? And for good reason. See, one thing I wanted to mention about Alex Jones is that I somehow got to find a way because I like get the 411 from my man. He's a general. If you hadn't known, Alex Jones knows about stuff before everybody knows about stuff. He's got whistleblowers. Now some people would say, well, he's controlled opposition, and that's why he knows about everything before it happens because he's been given the word by authorities who are pulling his puppet strings. Whatever, dude. It's like it could be that. I guess it's probably not. But it's to say that you still hear what's going to happen before it happens, such as the lockdowns. And now everybody and their mother is talking about the lockdowns and how they're not going to comply. Have you seen that? Like everybody in your YouTube feed is talking about how they're not going to comply with the lock. They didn't have no idea or clue about it until Alex Jones brought it up, and even mainstream stupid people news is even admitting that Alex Jones was the one that dropped it. He dropped the word. So if you wanted to know at first, you listen to Alex Jones. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because I personally got to find out a way to get snippets of Alex Jones every day. And I can't consume myself so much with Alex Jones or InfoWars like on a time basis because it takes up a lot of time to find out all this chaos and carnage. It's worthwhile, but also if you're making gains and you're grinding real hard, you're gonna have to do other stuff. It's more positive, and yet and still get the 411 on the chaos and the carnage. All right, I took a screenshot of this, but it really doesn't even matter. The Connors. The reason I brought it up is because you probably don't know what this is. This is a TV show. It's called The Connors, and it's already made a season 6 happy ending much harder. All right, the hell are they talking about? It's not a pornographic thing. What they're talking about? They're talking about a TV show nobody cares about. Nobody. It was based off a show that Roseanne made. Everybody loved Roseanne, and that was a show called Roseanne, and everybody loved it. You kicked her off in a gruesome, brutal, barbaric fashion, and you kicked her to the curb in such a way that it's unbelievable. The show is called Roseanne, and then you think you're gonna carry on with the show, and you think you're gonna desperately still grab her money on TV. You got a TV show, and in 2023, I gotta admit that I can't believe that TV exists. I can't believe that TV even still exists because I don't know who watches the TV, all right? And you got this show. It's terrible. I also wanted to point out this before we get up out of here. I gotta get up out of here and stuff. Thinking about dropping some hot fire in the studio tonight and then getting a good night's rest. All right, but I did want to bring up too, also, if you happen to be still listening and watching, or watching and listening, the Proud Boys leader Joe Biggs. I don't know if you ever heard about him. He, along with other people, and it still carries on. It's going to carry on forever until the end of time. Them talking and parading around and pretending about that whole thing that happened in January. Remember that January thing that happened a few years ago and stuff? They are gonna, for the end of time, they're gonna carry this out. All right, unless they're stopped, and they probably won't be stopped. All right, Joe Biggs is one of many, many people been incriminated in that whole incident, and he's got 17 years. All right, and it's this guy right here. He's the guy on the right, and you might recognize Enrico Intario. I want to just mention, I've mentioned it before a long, long time ago. I don't even know how long, 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, I went to in San Antonio a rally for Hillary Clinton. Believe it or not, it's one of my most epic stories. And I wanted to troll, and I did troll a little bit. All right, and it was a very good time. But I went downtown. I had to, of course. Everybody goes downtown, and that's where Hillary. And I saw her in person from a distance, and her aura. I saw it. I felt it from a distance, and I did troll her. And I don't know if she saw my sign, but if she did, I trolled her from a distance. Anyways, I met Joe Biggs that day. It was an epic day. And I gotta say about Enrique Tarrio, if he's not kneeling down, he must be pretty damn short. Because I remember meeting Joe Biggs uh, kind of vividly, and he's a short little guy. He's very short, but he's also built, and he's got experience in messing people up. So I'm not discrediting him on that. I'm just saying he's short. In real life, you feel like everybody's as tall as you or taller. And no, he's a very short guy. Anyways, a hero, and has been through a lot for serving our country and stuff like that. Joe Biggs sentenced to 17 years, and somebody was mentioning it earlier. As time goes on, Joe Biggs was snatched up immediately after this incident, and he's been in jail, with, I guess, with no bond already for over 2 years. And so this sentence, I guess, would be like he's already served those 2+ years of a 17-year sentence. Like I said about him and other people, Enrique Tarrio, Stuart Rose, this is a life situation because they're already skirting the law in so many ways that they're wanting you to be in prison for life, and they're wanting to scare people, and they're wanting precedent to throw other people in prison for life, or scare the bejeebers out of them to shut the hell up and never ever go to anywhere where a government official would be at. Um, and so that's what they're doing, and it's like, wow, it's an epic battle. Trump, he's over there trying to like, man, okay, I want to end on this. We're gonna end on the Joe Biggs thing, all right? Because to me, it's like kind of important. And I did meet the guy before at a Hillary Clinton rally, and I actually met him and that boy Zimmerman. I kind of met him sort of, but I gave Joe Biggs, and he probably still has it somewhere in his possessions, a Hillary Clinton T-shirt, and it was very epic, all right? I've told a story before. I'll tell it later, but of course it hits close to home because I know this guy, and he's in all these international publications and everything. And they're talking about him, and I've met this guy, and he's an epic hero. He's the kind of a person that movies are made about, and who actors desperately will try to portray later on. All right, he's an epic guy. Right. I will touch upon like, okay, SAPD fatally shoots. Oh, man. Hold on one second. Oh yeah, gotta get up out of here. But I wanted to make sure I'm not running out my battery. I did notice how the light went off, and I went full creepy. But anyways, all right. Rough streets of San Antonio. Um, SAPD shoots wanted felon who is firing at I-10 traffic on the east side. It's very recent. People are just firing into traffic. People are throwing spears into cars in traffic. People are firing off all sort of guns into traffic. Wanted felon, violent felon, and stuff like that. This is just what happens daily. This was a while back, but Beyonce's cousin was shot up by this lady on the right. And it's messed up because if you're Beyonce's cousin, you don't even have a name and nobody cares what your name is. You are Beyonce's cousin, even when you get shot up and you're shot dead. And it's like you lived in a very nice area only because You're Beyonce's cousin. When you get shot dead, Beyonce's cousin got shot dead. What's his name? It doesn't even matter. And isn't that messed up? That happened in San Antonio. That's terrible. They talked about hate crimes. They're gonna be talking about that a lot. All right, and they're ramping it up. They're ramping it up about hate crimes. They're pointing out how they claim hate crimes happen all over Texas, which they don't. But it says San Antonio's numbers tell a different story because there's literally zero. When you say hate in San Antonio, what hate means is like maybe someone down the street and you have a beef with them and something you have history with them and you'll shoot them if you see them or something like that. Nobody has time to hate people in the way that you're talking about, where you hate whole groups of people because you don't have time for that. You have stuff to do and you have to desperately try to survive. And at the same time, those people you're talking about hate people they know in their family or people who they've known since they were kids, and they'll kill them if they say, or they'll kill strangers simply because they said something wrong to them at the gas station. They'll shoot you dead. All right, if that's what you mean by hate, there is no such other hate in San Antonio, and they're pretending and making it all up. All right. Got to get up out of here, but one of the last things I'll mention is I want to read this sentence with you. It was in a local news for San Antonio. In the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, this is the sentence. You could have a whole college lecture about this one sentence. In the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, San Antonio leaders approved a resolution combating hate speech. Now, you have to be a very politically correct NPC, brain dead person, if you even to even understand what the hell that means. Okay, because if you were considering actually what word by word, everything you just said doesn't make any damn sense. There's no relation between the two. There's no relation between the two. The only relation you want to say about COVID-19 and hate speech is that, like, people shouldn't say what you don't want them to say, and you're going to label them as hateful. You're going to say that they hate Asian people, and you're retarded. Right? But that's what they wanted to do with the people. Okay, like a deputy shoot murder suspect firing at officers and at Scotus County, right? Over and over, this is a different incident, right? Over and over every day, it seems, wild chaos and carnage, only in San Antonio, but I'm saying like probably everywhere else as well, right? So, like I said, shout out to Joe Biggs. He's in prison forever, for life. I know they said for 17 years, but of course, they're not exactly law-abiding citizens. I don't know how to work my phone anymore, and also big ass truck behind me. Alright, so signing off. Somebody's moving in next door at midnight or something. I'll holler at y'all. Joe Biggs in jail for life. Everybody's suffering out there, or making gains, or perhaps even suffering and making gains. I'll holler at y'all. It is September, oh no, the 2nd, 2020, 2023.